To see the fully uncut version of this video, head over to patreon.com/Jonjo Lyons.
What's that like to live deliciously? Chaos reigns.
Please don't scream.
Nah, Sid, don't you blame the movies. Movies don't create psychos. Movies make psychos more creative.
What's happening? My name is Jonjo Lyons, and today I'm here to present to you my review for Snuff 102. Written and directed by Mariano Peralta, Snuff 102 stars all of these lot. A reporter researching the phenomenon known as snuff gets first-hand experience in the subject after she's abducted by a psycho. Here's another fun one, ladies, gentlemen, and everyone in between. Snuff 102 is an independent horror movie from Argentina that I've had multiple requests for over the last year. Apparently, a lot of you wanted me to check this one out, and after having a cheeky little skip through, I can totally see why. Snuff 102 is a filthy, painful little film that not only shocks, but also takes an academic look at violence in cinema, so it couldn't be more perfect for the channel. From what I've seen so far, this film somehow manages to exceed the brutality of Ostermontag, so if you enjoyed that, you're gonna have a bloody good time here. Also, I have no idea what I'm going to do about censoring this one. I posted a set of pictures from this film to my Instagram, @Jonjo Lyons Reviews, and they immediately got taken down for sexual activity. I don't know what kind of sex you're having over there at the Instagram head office, but I think that says more about you than it does me. Anyway, I don't know what the fuck I'm going to do. If you want to see the fully uncut version, as you know, go over to patreon.com. It's there right now, and you can see it for as little as $1 a month. I'm just going to try my best to avoid an age restriction, so let's not waste any more time. Get ready to stare into the heart of darkness and question every value you've ever held, to look at the very essence of evil and bathe in the blood-curdling screams of the innocent as flesh gives way to muscle before finally revealing the bright white bone underneath. This is Snuff 102. The movie begins with a text wall that reads, "One thing to redefine, perversion is the instrumentation of the other's body as a pleasure place without subjectivity. When the other's bodies are used as objects, there is perversion, under any form, even under the form of a traditional sexual relationship." Which makes me reflect on how your mum treats me and what kind of object I am. A drip tray? For her juices? Cut to some grainy as footage of a toilet filled with blood. In the bath, we see the body of a woman and a hacksaw when this fella enters and begins to dismember her. And when he's done, he steps back, takes a look at his work, and gives his little chub a rub. 4 minutes in and we already have a character whacking himself off to the sight of a dead body. I've got a good feeling about this one. Cut to someone looking through files online. They peruse the list, which bears a striking resemblance to my dad's search history, settling on snuff fantasy and clicking through. Inside we see various drawings of violence and then get into a montage of images before finally settling on a video of a pig being stabbed and drained of blood on a farm as the definition of snuff is put on the screen. Cut to this fella as he asks, until what point are you willing to watch?
¿Hasta dónde estás dispuesta a ver? O mejor dicho, ¿qué es lo que quieres ver?
Cut to this woman, the reporter, aka 102, tied up and crying in a bathroom. She spits out her gag and cries a bit more before standing and heading over to the shower. She screams when the door is suddenly kicked open. Cut to some time in the past where we find the same woman asleep in bed. She wakes up, sticks on the kettle and has a little forlorn look out the window before flicking through channels on the telly. There she sees a report about the discovery of multiple female bodies attributed to a killer nicknamed the Road Killer. They say the perpetrator has been captured and given a confession as the reporter watches. Cut to the reporter in bed on the phone to her editor. She's pitching an investigation into violence itself and is given the green light with 1 week to finish. Cut to the reporter starting a tape recorder as she interviews the fella that we saw earlier, the critic, as he questions why women.
Y esto es un hecho. Siempre ha sido así. La mujer ha sido objeto y no va a cambiar.
He talks about the partition of the bodies and mentions a psychiatrist named Figel who has a theory about the changing erotic zones. The shoulders in the Victorian age, the ankles in the first decade of the 20th century, the shoulders again in the 30s. Always the bodies were divided, fragmented. Cut back to the reporter in the kill room, and I've got to say I really enjoyed this shot for how horrible it is. This is probably the closest a human could ever get to hell. Then, unceremoniously, it just cuts back to the past. Cut to the reporter doing a bit of writing, and then boom! F you! Back to the misery. Me. That's some pretty effective filmmaking there. I thought we were going to stick with the past for a bit there, but no. I have a suspicion that this narrative whiplash is going to continue throughout the film, and I for one am a fan. A pregnant woman is brought into the room and tied to a chair by the killer, screaming the whole time as 102 does the same. The killer then starts to fondle and taunt her with a weapon as we cut back to the pregnant woman eating dinner in the past. She then does the washing up and gets into bed before getting out of bed and sitting at the table. Cut to this fella walking down the street and knocking on her door. Hold on. And then she's back in bed. I know it's a minor thing to complain about, but why show the shot of her getting up and going to the table if you're just going to show her in bed again? That's weirdly frustrating. Cut to the pair sitting at the table while the man smokes. Hey buddy, why are you smoking around a pregnant woman? It's not good for the baby. Not that that's going to matter in about 20 minutes. The man says he brought her something, producing drugs which the woman promptly takes. He then kisses her and we cut to them both in bed later. The pregnant woman gets out of bed and goes to the table for seconds as we cut back to the reporter doing research. The film focuses on words such as mutilated corpse, modus operandi and prostitutes before going on to say the killer admitted to watching adult films containing torture and the like. Cut to the reporter logging onto her computer and then back to the film critic. He says the most important thing he has to tell her is the new concept global video brain, wherein those who have the money have access to all the images, and if the bandwidth is unlimited, why must we limit ourselves? Why wouldn't we watch everything? Cut back to a third woman in the room as she's dragged across the floor by the killer and brought in to join our two other victims. Cut to the reporter looking through the files that we saw earlier as a montage of extremity washes across the screen. I'll spare you the details, but it's some pretty fucked up shit, some of which I think is real. It had me wincing, I'm not gonna lie. Cut back to the interview as the critic says the engine of society is consumption and every citizen is a spectator of this global video brain. It defining what we are and what we want to be even without our knowledge. Have access to watch everything, to peep all, to be everything, there's no limit. The reporter says it's impossible to believe there are no limits and the critic asks why. What determines that? There are no limits. She says morality and he asks what is morality and if you choose your morality. He then asks why be moral if you can be anonymous. Cut back to the reporter walking away from her computer and then to her in a cab. She then pays her fare, gets out and takes a walk, ending up in this lift and then this room as we go back to the start of her interview with the critic. She says she read some of his reviews and got very interested, handing him her research. He offers her a drink which she accepts, and when he goes to get it, she takes a quick look around the room before getting the recorder out. He returns and she once again compliments his reviews, saying he seems to be an expert on the subject she's writing about, visual violence. She asks his opinion on Snuff and starts the recording as we cut to the pregnant woman and her partner. He asks her if she wants to make some money and she says she does, asking what she must do. He says someone he knows gives good money. She only needs to do what he asks. The woman agrees and he says tomorrow he'll give her the address. The man then says his goodbyes and buggers off as we cut to tools being placed on a bloody floor. And here we are everyone, the point in the film where everything takes a sharp turn. Even on the censored version, you're going to hear a lot of fucked up sounds with description, so if anything up until this point has been too much, what comes next is going to be a problem. As always, by continuing to watch this video, you're consenting to the fact that you can't say shit to me about it, alright? Just thought I'd give you a bit of prep there, okay? Everyone ready? Here we go. We see the three women through the camera as the killer gets his shot ready and goes to the pregnant woman, slapping her multiple times and then punching her over and over. Good Lord. Cut to the woman's bloody, lumpy face and then to the killer as he drags her into the middle of the room and dumps her on the floor. He then covers her head with a plastic bag and steps on her face before stepping on her stomach. And then he starts chopping off fingers. Cut back to the interview as the critic tells the reporter Snuff is a myth. Yeah, tell that to the pregnant woman. She asks if it is impossible, but the critic says it is improbable. That someone filming themselves killing someone and selling the tape would be like handing themselves over to the police. The reporter then once again says that he is telling her it is impossible, and he says no. It isn't impossible, and actually what is impossible is a wealthy ring of people willing to purchase these tapes. He says there are too many variables involved and someone would squill, but yes, an isolated individual could do that.
Gee, you seem to know a lot about the methodology at play here, Mr. Critic.
The reporter says there are people for which no one cares. Those without money. They are no good. No one is interested in them. The critic says there are people who have more value than others, but the reporter says she doesn't see it that way. The critic agrees, saying of course she doesn't. The guilt is not what we want, but for the sustenance of some, there are others who must suffer. He then asks her if she knows how much the price of a child is.
Una cinta donde ese mismo chico es violado, torturado y asesinado cuesta por lo menos 2 veces más que el valor del chico.
Cut back to the party room as the killer stomps on the pregnant woman's head. He then grabs her nethers for a bit before stomping on her stomach repeatedly, causing her water to break.
Which we don't see very well, thankfully. I presume the woman was actually pregnant, so any contact with her tummy has to cut away because they couldn't do it safely and make it look real. Then something hilarious happens.
The film burns away and we get some text which reads, "Perhaps the true ethics of cinema is the respect of the unseen parts of the image, in not wanting to see it all and not forcing the image of what should not be seen."
So actually, Jonjo, this is an artistic choice. It has nothing to do with the fact that we couldn't shoot it convincingly. Have some respect for the unseen image, you psycho. Cut back to the bound woman screaming.
Cut to the third woman that was brought into the room. Let's call her the actress filming a scene for an adult movie. Cut back to the critic as he says cinema is opposite to reality, but there's another registry, an analog one that isn't supported by any fiction. This is the registry of pornography.
Adult entertainment for everyone on YouTube. It's not my fault. I wish I could say the word or ass or dumpster, but I'm on thin ice already, so it is what it is.
He says if someone wants to watch Snuff, they have easy everyday access in porn. He says we only see fragments of the body, the genitalia. The person is unimportant. We don't know who she or he is.
Spoilers, 9 out of 10 times, it's your mum.
Even more important, we don't care who they are. They are bodies to partake in, to use and consume.
Cut to the actress in the bathroom, presumably emptying herself of the thick loads that she just got shot inside her. That was a disgusting way to put it, but don't try to deny. If you've never sat on the toilet while multiple pints of some random bloke's man mayonnaise have sloshed out of you, you've never been my mum.
She finishes and gets out to pick me up, and then we cut to her getting washed up. She looks in the mirror for a moment when there's a knock at the door and she's told she's in the next scene. Cut back to the room as we get some horrible close-ups of the two survivors and watch as the killer cuts the pregnant woman's bra, bites her breast, and then grabs the knife.
Well... Jesus fucking Christ, man. I don't think I'd ever seen anything like that in a movie before, and then I get it twice in 2 episodes. This cannot be good for the soul, can it? I mean, if you had a soul. To begin with, obviously.
The reporter notices a cell phone off to the side as the killer pulls the knife up from where it is through her belly and out. He then taunts the actress with the knife as the reporter slides a piece of broken glass behind her with her foot. The killer then steps over to her and rubs the knife on her before sticking it in her mouth and rubbing his junk.
I don't even know what to say here, man. This is fucking brutal to get through, and we've got 43 minutes left. So, what fresh hell would the film deliver upon us next?
The camera tape pops out as the killer goes to examine it, and we hear the voice of the critic as he says it's not about being for or against violence, it's about analysing it. The killer then takes a bunch of pictures of what's left of the pregnant woman. Cut to the reporter cutting away at the rope with the glass she was somehow able to pick up. She manages to get loose but stays where she is as the killer re-enters the room and approaches the actress. He rubs her face with a hammer for a bit, then wipes away her tears with a tissue as she shakes and cries. She seems to calm down when the killer raises the hammer high and smashes her in the back of the head with it. Cut to the past as the actress sits on the toilet taking her artificial enthusiasm. Cut to her throwing up in the sink and leaving the bathroom, then to her at a payphone where she tries to make a call but doesn't get an answer. Cut to the actress at home as she begs Leo for work, saying she's broke and is about to get kicked out of her place. He says he doesn't promise, but he'll see if he can get her something and he'll call her later. Cut back to the actress in the room knocked out. The killer pops in a new tape and focuses in on the actress, then heads over to her, pulling her noose tight and ripping her fucking eye out.
Seems this killer has a eye for filmmaking. He could be a pupil of the arts. I'm gonna come. He then pops a bag on her head until she passes out and undoes her bindings. And down on the floor she goes. Cut to the killer putting on gloves and exposing her teeth, which he proceeds to bash out using a hammer and chisel. So what's next then? What haven't we checked off of the list yet? Oh, of course. He fucks her. So anyway, after he finishes, he stands up and pisses on her and she doesn't seem to be a fan. Honestly, I'm surprised she's even still alive. Then he gets a hacksaw and starts cutting away as the reporter finally takes this opportunity to try and escape. Cut to the critic as he goes on more about the internet and media dissecting bodies and making a carnage, producing new bodies and assembling those. Which is fine and all that, but at this point I'm so blind from the violence that I've had to watch, I'm finding it hard to pay attention to him. Basically, internet and media bad. Desensitization and abandonment of religious censorship bad. We're all fucked. Cut to the room as the killer continues to saw off the actress's extremities and the reporter tries to get free. The killer removes the actress's head and we cut to the interview where the critic gets a call. The reporter stops the tape, then takes a look in his books, finding some pretty interesting photos. Real photos of death and dismemberment. She then takes a look at some of the other books as the sounds of present-day her can be heard moaning. Again, we see more torture and dismemberment until she stumbles across pictures of the critic having sex with a dead body.
Cuatro paredes. Realiza el morado. Se puede ser armónico.
He catches her and pulls a gun, telling her nothing of this should have happened. Cut to the reporter escaping her chair and running for her life. She locks herself in the bathroom as the killer tries to get in, bringing us back to the opening scene of the movie. She spits out a gag and then looks in the shower, finding the pregnant woman turned inside out but somehow still alive. The killer then bursts in, knocks her out before beating the pregnant woman fully to death. He then jams a hook into the reporter and drags her back to the kill room where she uses another shard of glass to free herself once again as the killer prepares her tape. She runs, hides and tries to use the phone, but it doesn't work, so she continues in her escape, stumbling through the halls of the decrepit building as the killer stalks her. She then barely makes it out of a window with the killer gripping onto her and runs for her life. She takes a quick break, but the killer makes it outside and they run through the woods. We then watch as the killer catches her, knocks her down, drops his machete and starts strangling the reporter when she grabs a rock and knocks him out. She then picks up the machete and enacts bloody, violent retribution. Cut to nighttime as the reporter flags down a car, gets inside and stares out the window. The end! Well, no in this one, 0 out of 10! Snuff 102 is a film that I find really confusing in that I'm not quite sure what it thinks it is. In reading about the film, what interested me the most was the idea that it would be presenting extreme violence while also making an effort to deconstruct extreme violence in cinema. But for a film that's an hour and 40 minutes long, in the end it really doesn't have all that much to say. As I feel like I've been saying a lot lately, the story is simple enough, with the bulk of it simply depicting a group of women in a room being tortured by a man in a mask. It seems that the film wants to be more than just that though, so it includes the black and white segments which serve to flesh out the backstories of our victims and also provide the pseudo-academic commentary in the form of our reporter's interview with the critic. I did quite like the non-linear structure of the film, as it slowly revealed our victims' origins, but it doesn't get very deep. One is a poor drug addict and the other is a poor adult film actress. That's it. They are what the critic would describe as less valued people, so I understand why they were chosen, but I wish we could have gotten a bit more into their stories. The same goes for the reporter, who, now I'm thinking about it, we actually know nothing about. We know that she wants to do a story on violence, but that's it. Why does this subject strike such a chord with her, apart from the obvious aversion to violence against women as a woman? Could we have included a past experience which tied her to the subject, or even some sort of relationship she shared with one of the victims of the road killer? And as I said in the review, the commentary the critic provides just seems to be surface level. I don't know what I expected, but I just felt the dissection of violence in cinema, snuff films and snuff victims was something that anyone with half a brain might say. Maybe I'm just stupid, but I did not find this aspect of the film interesting at all, which is a shame because I kind of expected it to be the most interesting. In terms of the performances, there's not really much to say here. Everyone is fine in their backstories, and in the present day scenes it's just a shitload of screaming. They look convincing enough, I suppose. And then there's the gore. While it's true Snuff 102 is a really bloody film, the execution of some of the gore effects leave a lot to be desired. The fact that the film quality is so impressively shit is one thing, but the worst thing they do in this film is the random cutaways. Missing frames during the torture scenes to avoid showing missed hits. This seems to be down to inexperience or an inability to shoot footage that looks real in those few examples, and even though there is admittedly more good gore effects than not, these bits stuck out and took me out of the film. Presentation wise, it's pretty awful. I do enjoy the editing, however, with the unpredictable nature of its cutting between past and present giving us a couple of very effective moments, but that's about it. Oh, and the music is fucking terrible. All in all, Snuff 102 is better than some of the films I've reviewed, but not by much. It's mean-spirited, violent as fuck, and definitely shocking in some moments, but the filmmaking mistakes and lack of depth really hold it back from being something special. It's a shame, as I really was looking forward to this one, but in the end, Snuff 102 is just okay.
So that was my review for Snuff 102. What do you lot think? We now have a new champion for the most fucked up movie I've ever covered. Congratulations. What a savage little film. The brutality on display here was truly something special. Speaking of which, if you want to see all of that absolute mayhem completely uncut and early, head over to patreon.com/Jonjo Lyons. There you can gain access to the uncut version of this review, plus others with more stuff coming all the time. We got slasher comic breakdowns, Patreon exclusive reviews, old review re-edits, and one of the newest additions, a fucking Discord. I've said before about how on the Patreon we're building this little extreme horror community, and one of my patrons, the amazing Taylor, suggested that we start a Discord. Well, she set it up, and I cannot tell you how lovely it is seeing people come together on there. Making friends, sharing their own creative work, and most importantly, pictures of pets. Honestly, it fills me with such a wholesome feeling, one that I never expected to gain from doing this channel. It's super fucking cute, and you can be a part of it too. Signing up to the Patreon at any tier gives you instant access to the Discord, so come on over and take a look. Oh, and if you want to listen to some absolutely fucking mental music, head over to disinterestedhandjob.bandcamp.com. They're honestly one of my favourite patrons, and they recently posted their work to the Discord, and fucking hell, to say I was surprised was an understatement. You can find the link in the description, go check it out, I highly recommend. But yeah, like I say, that can all be yours for as little as $1 a month. You can pledge more, I really appreciate it, as I'm trying to raise money to pay for that diamond encrusted dildo that your mum won't stop going on about. Honestly, doing my fucking head in. So that's it for another week. Like the video, leave a comment and click subscribe if you haven't already. My name's Jonjo Lyons, and after watching this more than ever before, I really can't wait to make my own movies. Go sign up to the Patreon so we can get that money up and fucking start making some history. Oh, and tell your mum I said hi. Okay, bye!